All right, so first thing you're going to do is you got to get rid of that square root. Can't do anything with the square root on it. Just like the opposite of adding is subtracting, opposite of multiplying is dividing, the opposite of square rooting is squaring. And because this is an equation, what you do to one side, you do the other. Okay, so what's going to happen here is the square root and the square are going to cancel each other out. All right, and you're just left with 5x plus 24. Okay, there's no square root anymore, there's no square, equals. And now the other side, you just have x squared. So x squared, you don't need that parentheses. All right, I see that this has an x and an x squared, which means I need to get everything to one side, and the other side needs to be 0. Okay, specifically, I really want to keep the x squared positive, and the x squared's already positive, so that means I'm going to move the 5x to the other side and the 24 to the other side. And the only way you can move them over is to do the opposite operation. 5x is positive, so to move it over, you would subtract. And I'm just putting that on the end there. Those go away. And to get rid of a plus 24, you subtract 24. I'm just going to put that on the end. And those go away. So now you have 0 equals, okay? And now you cannot subtract 5x from x squared. They're not the same thing, okay? One has a square on it, one doesn't. So it just stays x squared minus 5x minus 24. You can't subtract the 24 from the 5x because that 24 doesn't have an x on it, okay? So what you're going to do now is you have to factor this. So when I say factor, I'm meaning you're making this into 2 parentheses. You're breaking it down. Okay, well, your x squared breaks down into an x and an x because 2 x's make x squared. Okay, and that goes at the beginning of both parentheses. Now you got to figure out how to break down that 24. Specifically, it's a negative 24. Okay, so you're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to make negative 24. Okay, so there's a lot of numbers that do that. There's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. Okay, to make it negative, one of those numbers would have to be a negative. Okay, so I could have negative 1 and positive 24, or I could have positive 1 and negative 24, right? Okay, so now how do I choose which ones of those I'm supposed to do? I need 2 numbers that not only multiply to make negative 24, but then add to make that negative 5 right there. All right. Now, because that's a negative 5, I know that the bigger number out of all of those options I have has to be negative. So I'm going to go ahead and put a negative on all of these bigger numbers. And now I'm going to go through and see which one adds to make negative 5. 1 and negative 24, that makes negative 23. So that's not it. 2 and negative 12 makes negative 10. That's not it. 3 and negative 8, add those and you get negative 5. So that one's going to be it. And just to double check, this one is negative 2. So it's a positive 3 and a negative 8. Well, that positive 3 goes here, plus 3, and minus 8 goes here. All right, now you still got this equals 0 over here. Last step is really easy. All you got to do now is let both of those parentheses equal 0. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 8 equals 0. Minus 3. X equals negative 3. Add 8. X equals positive 8. Those are your 2 possible answers. Now, I'm not saying those are your answers, and so if you remember, your instructions said don't forget to check your answers, probably for like extraneous solutions. So here's how we're going to check those. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the original problem, square root of 5x plus 24 equals x. And I'm going to plug in the answer choices I got. So first I'm going to plug in -3. Okay, so that would be square root 5 times -3 plus 24 needs to equal -3. Now, I already know this isn't going to work, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. So if I do 5 times -3 is -15 plus 24. And then -15 plus 24 is +9. And the square root of 9 is +3. So I ended up getting 3 equals -3. Now I knew that wasn't going to work because it said that the square root of something had to equal a negative. The square root of everything should always be a positive. Okay, you can't get a negative when you take a square root. So basically, because that didn't work, x equals -3 will not work. Okay, and now I'm going to check the 8 and make sure it works. Okay, so I'm just going to come over here. So I'm running out of room. So square root of 5x plus 24 equals x. Square root 5 times 8 plus 24 equals 8. 5 times 8 is 40 plus 24. 40 plus 24 is 64. And the square root of 64 is 8. And we get that 8 equals 8, which does work. So x equals 8 is your only answer.